Our speaker was born in the state of Arizona in the mid-1920s, and throughout his life, he decided to become a nonviolent protester. And one of the ways our speaker went about this is by fasting, and fasting involves going without food, where you're able to drink water throughout the course of however long it takes. In this case, our speaker went 25 days without food, but he wanted to drink water. So, and the only reason he stopped was because he got what he wanted, was better working conditions, better pay for farm workers, and so on. And as a child, our speaker worked in the field to support his mother and his father and his siblings, because they weren't exactly the wealthiest of the families, but they decided to work because that's all they could do. And shortly after the events of World War II, our speaker enlisted in the US Navy. And during his service, he had the rank of Seaman First Class, and after 2 years, he was honorably discharged. And in 2015, a memorial was held for our speaker to commemorate his bravery and his sacrifice in the past. And in the 60s, our speaker founded the National Farm Workers of America in order to challenge the horrible working conditions and the horrible pay given to the farm workers in California and the southern states. So, and the topic of our speaker is important because our speaker was trying to influence agricultural laws in the US by trying to challenge him. One of the ways he went about this is by getting involved in the Delano grape strike in the mid-60s, and that strike involved people picketing, boycotting grapes, making sure that nobody bought them because people were being paid unfairly, poorly. They were working in the hot sun all day. Very bad conditions that they had to deal with. And this got the attention of the whole US. And this strike was so successful that our speaker organized a 300-mile march towards the capital of California to get more traction and more followers. So people weren't buying grapes, which meant that farm owners suffered, which meant that businesses collapsed. And when a business collapses, they're pretty much forced to give the people what they want, so their business keeps on going. So they gave the farmers what they wanted, better working conditions, better pay, in order to satisfy their needs. So yeah, the strike was successful, and our speaker decided to keep on going, even though he got a lot of attention already. So, and the importance of our speaker's topic is that his bravery and sacrifice in the 60s and 70s got so much attention. And without our guest speaker's actions, farm workers would have continued to be exploited by major companies. They would have continued to be paid poorly. Maybe they would make just enough money to feed themselves or their families. And that isn't the case nowadays. People are being paid reasonably, and conditions are better. And our guest speaker knew that American democracy needed to be readjusted, that new laws needed to be introduced to satisfy the needs of farm workers. And our speaker heavily believed in the idea of sacrifice, inspired by Mahatma Gandhi, the nonviolent protester. Since they both believed in sacrifice, one of the things that our speaker has said once before is that the fight is never about grapes or lettuce. It is always about people. And that he was willing to die to get rights for farm workers. Ladies and gentlemen, I introduce today's guest speaker, Cesar Chavez.